So I have the lovely spot right before the break, so hopefully I'll wake you up a little bit. So I wanted to do this talk because I regularly, well, first of all, I'll tell you what I do. I'm Rosie Anderson. I work at that security company as head of solutions. So what that means is I work with customers every day who are trying to solve problems, trying to solve their cybersecurity problems. And typically what I'm seeing is businesses, they aren't swimming in cash. They might be an IT manager responsible for cyber. Is anyone here IT who also gets the joy of cybersecurity as well? Yeah. It's not necessarily always your wheelhouse, but suddenly it's extra responsibility and not normally with more budget. You've got to make things go further. So typically, IT and cyber is seen as a cost centre for the board. So what I want to do is show you a few things we can do to show the financial benefits of investing in tech and investing in cyber, but also maximising what you have. So first things first, before you can protect your business, you need to understand how your business operates. So what's the business purpose? So if you are a sandwich manufacturer, your business purpose might be to provide sandwiches at lunchtime to busy working people. That might be the outward purpose. So what are our assets? What are the things and systems that help us for that? So if our purpose is to manufacture sandwiches, our goal might be to provide 200,000 sandwiches every day. So if we think about our outward goal, what systems help us to achieve that goal? Now, businesses have public goals and internal goals. So the business might know that they want to sell this business in 5 years' time. We want to maximise profits so that Tesco or any other big name retailer will come and buy us. So by figuring out what the board cares about, what the business cares about as business goals, if we align what we're doing in cybersecurity, are we helping towards those goals, or are we putting barriers in place for the staff that are working towards these? So we've just heard from John about a bad day. What happens on a bad day for your business? So cybersecurity might think a bad day is somebody clicked on a phishing link, but actually if that doesn't stop the business, what does the business consider as a bad day? What's critical to our goals again? So if our goal in the previous example is to provide 200,000 sandwiches per day, what's the financial impact of that not happening? So it might be that we've got lost revenue. It might be that we have break clauses and fines and financial implications. It might be that we're in the bid at the moment, we're bidding with a new supermarket, and actually when this hits the press, we're going to lose that. So what is the financial impact of our goals not being met? If you're in healthcare, it's patient data, it's patient systems that you need to protect. Financial services, it might be the data that goes through that, the banking, the money that's in those systems. By tailoring our security efforts to the industry's needs and your business's unique needs, we're maximising our resources, but we can also then go and talk to leadership about this is what a bad day looks like. This is what we think a bad day looks like. What else are you concerned about? What else are you worried about? And how can we align our technical and our cyber strategy to those goals? If you don't understand what your business's goals are, including those private goals, you're going to struggle to protect, and sometimes you can struggle to then relay that to get buy-in. So, aligning cyber risk to business risk. Now, as a cyber department, and sometimes as a marketing department, we all think our own departments are the most important. But actually, what does the business think about? How does the business operate? If we think about an airport, you go into an airport, all of the systems within an airport. You've got your check-in desks, you've got your flight things that tell you what gate to go to, all of your gate things that move you around an airport. If you think about the flight systems, they know who's going to come on board. You've got your quality checks, you've got your passport checks, all these different systems that are checking what's going on. But in an airport, you've also got your operations. So you've got your payroll, you've got your HR. What are the most critical systems in your business, and how long can you afford for them to be down? When CrowdStrike happened, a lot of the airports struggled, but Ryanair were able to still get people through and onto flights and get their flights moving because they had a disaster recovery process, they had paper check-ins. So understanding what are the critical systems. You talked about payroll earlier. Payroll system, we might think isn't that important for the running of operations, but actually if payroll's tomorrow, How are we going to pay our staff? How do we know what to pay our staff? How do we know who our staff are if we've got associates and we've got temporary staff and things like that? How are we going to make sure that everybody gets paid and they turn up if this is going to take weeks and months? So having an understanding of your downtime per critical system and aligning to business risk, what business thinks is critical, is really important. So once we understand our critical systems and how our business runs, we can start thinking about our threat actors. So some great slides before. We talked about extortion and espionage. If you think about your business, okay, a nice little formula for understanding your business. Where are you based? What's the industry that you're in? What industries do you serve? So for example, who are your customers and who supplies to you, as well as all that sort of ecosystem. So if we look at the Target attack in the US, the Target attack, they managed to get the payment details because the air conditioning company that supplied air conditioning units, the attacker managed to go through that company, and the air conditioning units were on the same network as the tills. So they weren't segregated networks. So that air conditioning unit, you would assume that company that provided that would not have had the same budget as Target, but they were a softer attack to get to the end customer. So when you think about your ecosystem of trust, you might think, I'm a flooring supplier, I provide flooring. But actually, if you supplied flooring to the NHS, suddenly actually that makes things a little bit different. You might still have, you've got to consider that in your threat profile, like who might target you. We have a customer that we provide security visibility for, which provides Wi-Fi solutions, Wi-Fi services to retailers like fast food retail outlets. So we provide the SOC service for that customer, and we noticed they were getting attacks from China and Russia. They had a massive spike all of a sudden. And actually they'd started providing Wi-Fi to US hospitals. So overnight their threat profile changed massively, because suddenly US hospitals, not like UK hospitals, obviously there's a lot of financial data that's within those networks. So one of the things that we do with our customers is we spend time every year figuring out, has anything changed? Has your customers changed? Have any of your suppliers changed? Because that can impact your threat profile. Applying the same level of cyber defense to the NHS as to sandwiches is instantly noticeable as bad return on investment. So understanding your business, its goals, and applying relevant cybersecurity to that is what we need to sort of do. So if we think about our systems and we think about our data, what are going to be the known sort of attacks that we're going to be looking out for? If we think about disruption, some people just want to attack the hacktivists, they just want to cause chaos. Some people are after financial data. It might be corporate espionage. Thinking about the systems that you class as your crown jewels and who wants the data from that can help you start to think about how you protect from those types of attacks and what type of attacks to look for. Okay, so we understand our critical systems, we understand who's going to attack us or why someone might want to attack us. So what we need to do is think about how our systems are designed, how our infrastructure is designed. So if we think about the external boundaries of our business and think about how we get from there to the critical systems and map this out, like most businesses should hopefully have some kind of network diagram of knowing where your systems are. Things like from your external IP, are you accessible through public IPs? Are you accessible via VPNs? Or how are your networks sort of built together? Have you got your critical systems all on the same network, or is it segregated? Are you hosted in the cloud? Have you thought about your external cloud providers? Have you done a security configuration review of those? So thinking about all of our external systems and how an attacker could get in and how we're protecting our systems. So for example, what you can do, once you know what your critical systems are and the ones that are going to affect your business goals, how protected are they? You can get your internal teams to try and attack and move from one network to another, or you can look to get a pen tester in to come and try and attack your network and see how far they go. Once we understand what we've got and how we can protect from one level to the next, we need to test that and record that test. So if you have an external pen test and they managed to get through, okay, what worked, what didn't? Was it technology? Was it people? Was it tools? Was it processes? this is a way that you can then go to the board and say, look, these are the critical systems that we've got. We've run a test. We think there's gaps in these areas. Okay, so I'm going to talk about how to do cybersecurity on a shoestring. If we think about the people that we have in our team, who's got one person responsible for IT and security? I see some nods, see some hands. So I will be honest, most businesses have not got 60 strong people in tech, or especially not in cybersecurity. We can speak to companies in the US that are responsible for critical oil pipelines, and there's one person responsible for IT and security pulling the hair out. So don't worry about that. Okay, the way you can maximize what you've got, you might have an IT team that works alongside security, and bringing that all together and having, rather than us versus them, having one team together massively helps. Making sure that the wider business is aware of security. So if they see something that they're not sure about, let's say it's sorted that we get on the trains, who do they report to? Who do they report those things to? I've mentioned DRACOI. So we have a free tool. It's called dracoi.com. Give this to your accounts teams especially, but if you put into dracoi.com a website, an email, a file, a hash, it will tell you how safe that is. So if you have, as a business, your accounts team should be able to click on links and know that they're secure. They should be able to have a way that they can make sure that what they're doing is safe and they're not bringing in vulnerabilities. We sometimes hear a tripe that security is everyone's job, it's everyone's problem, and I disagree with that slightly. Your accounts team's job is to pay accounts, but if you can have technology and things that they can do to make themselves more security, and they know how to report problems, this is a great thing. So having overlapping skills in a department, if you've got an IT team and they want to get more into cybersecurity, great. If you've got someone in customer service that really cares about, they've shown interest in compliance and legislation, help them get involved in some internal audits. You can have something called security champions, which I love as a theme. They don't have to work in cybersecurity, but if they're passionate and they want to grow and develop, they can go into the wider business. Every business has got, it's normally a woman, I'll be honest, it's normally a woman, sometimes it's me in the businesses that I'm in, that knows everyone within that business. They get on with everyone, they know all the problems and that sort of tribal knowledge. That is a really good person to be involved in your Security Champions program. And these are free things that you can do with your staff that you've got. So training, having lunch and learns, having gamified, who can spot the phishing link really quickly. If you go onto YouTube, there's some great videos that are really effective at showing how people hack passwords, how people ring up and actually get into someone's account. There's, if you search like DEF CON password hacking, you can do it as like a lunch and learn type thing that can show, actually we need MFA. So if you're trying to push MFA across the business, you're getting some resistance, they can use it in their personal life as well. An informed workforce will make your whole business less likely to fall for a phishing attack. Now it's not foolproof, nothing's foolproof. Anyone can fall for a phishing attack and a fake phone call, but at least if they're more cyber aware, they're going to be a lot more confident that they know, actually I need to ask these questions. Okay, cyber skills shortage was recruitment. I did it for 20 years. I can tell you there is not a shortage of talent or people that want to be in this industry. Now, not every business, like I said, has got budget to keep hiring new people, experienced people. You might hear pen testers are like £90,000 as a salary. But you can cross-train your IT staff, you can cross-train your business, you can bring in apprentices if you can, and train them and upskill. If you've got a leadership team have been in your company for 20, 30 years, where's your next generation of talent coming from? And sometimes getting somebody into the business to help mentor and grow an apprentice or a junior person in the business, that's where they can start to develop their management skills, their leadership skills, because we also have to train on next generation of talent. Spreading your knowledge, having security champions, but also think about your developers. If you're a business that develops software, does that team understand how to develop secure software? Can you invest in training there to bring somebody in to do a session where they can peer review each other's technology, each other's code, for example? There are free sites out there, so things like Hack the Box for people to develop software skills, but maybe buying your team a license so that they can upskill These are easy. Rotating responsibilities as well. If we think about when you go to the gym, you don't always do the same activity. Obviously, I go to the gym loads, you can tell. But if you, like for your IT team, this week we're going to focus on endpoint detection. Next week we're going to focus on firewalls so that we can all do each other's jobs. And that covers us when people want to go on holiday, because, you know, people occasionally are allowed to do that. Technologies. Now, many times I can go into a business and see they've got duplicate tools. In a crisis, in a ransomware attack, for example, your EDR might actually get taken down with that. If an attacker's in the network for long enough, they can start to put false positives in there, so actually your EDR might not always show. Occasionally, we've had businesses that have got all these shiny, blinky tools, and they're still going to get hit. And actually, it's Microsoft Defender that they didn't know they had that actually raises the first smoke alarm that something's going wrong. So if you have an audit of your business and your technologies and all the things that you're using, including the shadow IT that's been there for decades, are there duplicate technologies? Are there duplicate tools? Is there things you're not using anymore? Have you got log aggregators and a SIEM and EDR and XDR and all the DRs that you could ever want, but actually there's multiple functions doing the same thing? Now, a shiny new tool isn't the only thing that can plug a security gap. You can look at configuring things better. You can look at the tools that you've got. What else can it do as the bolt-ons rather than keep buying more and more tools? Automation, patching. Somebody said earlier about patching and keeping those patches up to date. Where you can use automation, there's nothing wrong with doing that, making sure those patches sort of go out, which means that you can spend your time actually then focusing on strategy and what you're doing. Things like actual security native tools like Google Workspace, it's got security features within there. Email filtering, most email software has that in there as standard. You don't have to always keep buying a new tool for that. Taking advantage of basic security hygiene. If you have critical systems, you need to have MFA on your systems. Everybody should have MFA to try and log into a work email. It's the easiest way to stop most attacks. Most attacks. There's always going to be spoofing, but there's the easiest way to stop attacks. Security processes. Right, if you talk to everybody in your business and in the departments, what do they do day to day? And without looking at the policies, how do they do X, Y, Z? How do they automate patches? How do they do their job? If you look at how people actually work and the processes that they follow, and then read the paperwork, if there is paperwork, do they align? 99% of times there will be some tribal knowledge in your business. There'll be some workarounds that happen because technology isn't working how they want it to work. So mapping your actual processes, mapping what you're doing, making sure that where you're spending your money for cyber or for IT is protecting back to those critical systems is so important. And if there is tribal knowledge, making sure it's documented so that if Joe Bloggs, who's the only person who knows how to use that technology, leaves or gets hit by a bus tomorrow, how they're going to hand it down? How can anyone else know what they would do in that situation? If we think about our critical assets and our critical systems, is everything protected? If we think about that sandwich company, that sandwich manufacturer, are they pen testing the website? Or are they pen testing the critical systems that make the sandwiches? Because the website doesn't sell anything. It's just a portal for customers to look at. No one logs into it. Are we spending our money on cyber defense on the critical systems that the business care about? And if you do all of these things, you're actually creating a strategy that's tied to business's objectives. So then when you go to the board, hopefully they're going to understand that. Building a strong security culture. So I have touched on this a little bit, but making sure that people know what success looks like. So if the IT department is stopping phishing links and actually stopping things that could be harming the business, shouting about that, sharing that knowledge. If your team know that actually, I've just had a phone call, it's really weird. Somebody said they've changed the bank account details, but I'm just going to check, like your accounts department. So we've had a customer where we've come in to help them in a breach where an attacker had been in their network, they'd emailed their suppliers to change the bank account, so it looked like it was an email coming from the company. So the supplier had paid an attacker's bank account. Then at the same time, they'd had an invoice coming to buy new stock, and they'd been in the network, they'd changed the details of that invoice, spoofed it. So actually, a customer had paid someone else that they thought was paying the end customer in this, and they'd also paid 40 grand to a supplier that they thought they were buying stock, and then they had to go and do that again. So in one day, they lost £80,000. Small business, small haulage type business, that was a lot of money. Payday was 2 days away, and they're thinking, I don't know how we're going to pay our staff. So having processes where actually a customer's saying they've changed their bank account details, right, I'm going to ring up the number that we normally do, not the number on the email, and just check, is this legit? Can you just confirm those bank account details? Having these sorts of processes within each department, because they know how that department works, they know what's normal for them, can embed security into your company's DNA. I'm going to mention DRACOI again. So DRACOI.com, I have got some stickers with it on if you want to stick it to your laptop, but it's completely free. Whatever you put in there, it's browser based, so we're not tracking what you're searching, we're not tracking the emails, but it will go against all of like VirusTotal, all the legitimate open source technologies, and tell you, is this email secure, is this link secure, is this file secure, before you actually click on that link. And then going to talk to your board. So if we've done all these things, if we understand the business goals, when we're talking to the board about the manufacturing systems here, we're a little bit concerned that we're not as protected as we expect to be. If our systems go down, it's £108,000 per day in lost revenue. I want to invest £50,000, but I'm going to move money from here, there, because we don't want our systems to go down, and I'm not convinced on a bad day those systems aren't going to go down. If we talk to our board about mitigating risk, if you're a regulated industry, they will care about risk. If you're an unregulated industry, they want to save money or make money. So if you can operationalize, if you can use security to make things faster, to speed things up, great. But if you're an unregulated industry, they will care more about making money or saving money when you're talking to the board. But you need to talk to them about what they care about, not what cyber cares about. What's the business goals? How does investing in cybersecurity affect those goals? How do we save them money? How do we protect them from losing money? I'm going to put some details here. I couldn't figure out QR codes on the train, so I have got a checklist for IT managers, like some free things that you can do to make your business more secure if cybersecurity is responsible for. I've also got a checklist for showcasing ROI and how to talk to the board. I can send you the slides and the notes as well. So if anyone does want to reach out to me, Linktree's got all the different things on, but everybody hates trying to, it's that security company, but everybody hates trying to figure out how to spell it. It took me at least a week when I joined the company, but that's me done.